welcome to BunniPhish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as BunniPhish on Ravelry, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. Today is the 30th of June. It's a Sunday, 2019, and this is episode 46, I believe. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. It seems that I'm going to be recording every other week, just because that's how it seems like it's going to be for the summer. The kids are out of school, have been for a couple weeks, and we are just busy. We're busy people. Yesterday is the first day in probably 12 days that I was not out of my house at all. I refused to leave. Refused to do anything because I needed to introvert. But between fireworks displays and cheap movie days and the beach, of course the beach, and parks and all sorts of things, library, we've just been going. So that leaves less time for me to podcast. And I love recording at the park, so I've been like, oh, I'll just take my laptop and go to the park and record. It's been too busy at the park, too much background noise, so I could do it if we went really early in the morning before people get there, but then there's lawnmowers and stuff, so hopefully there will be more outside recording, but not today. Today, I've just decided that if I'm going to record this week, get something out to you in a timely-ish fashion, it needed to be right now. Administrative stuff. The Small Things Knit Along is going on, and it's going okay. Participation is not super high yet. It usually picks up later, especially once I start recording more frequently or talking about my small things. Then people are like, oh yeah, that's a thing. So that's going on in the Ravelry group. Last episode, I said it went through August 4th. That's a lie. It goes through September 4th. It's the 4th. I think it's the 4th of September. It's the day after the United States Labor Day holiday, but it's definitely the beginning of September, not the beginning of August. So you have plenty of time to put things in for a prize. The way prizes are going to work is I have a few ideas. I have a couple not progress keepers, stitch markers that I got off of the 716 knit truck. There's a sheep and a buffalo. I'm going to do a set of 5 40-yard minis, and I'm going to do a set of 10 20-yard minis from my stash minis. Those are what I have for the small things right now. But, oh, no, I also have the project bag from the ZK. It's just not a good size for me. It's a little bit too big. It's kind of this big, and I only will use one, and I like this one better. So it's like a small sweater or a shawl sort of size. So I'm going to let that be a prize option also. And the way that prizes are going to work is I will draw a prize every 50 entries into the thread. So each small thing counts as an entry. So there could be a babillion prizes given away, but I figure 50 is good. And all of the entries through the whole time will count. If you've already won a prize, you can still win another prize. So continue posting unless you don't want to win another prize. Sometimes people don't want to. That's fine. What else about that knit along? So we are not at 50 yet. So no prize this episode. But I'm really, really excited about that. At the end of the episode, I'm going to talk about the ZK because I was there a week ago. So, or I wasn't there a week ago. I was driving to get my kids after flying home 1 week ago today. So I'm going to talk about that. I am going to Also, really quickly discuss the Ravelry. If you are watching this podcast, you probably already know about Ravelry's announcement to ban support of Trump. And while I don't, while I, this is tricky. So I believe, bleh, this is tricky. I believe in freedom of speech, right? But I don't believe that people should be able to speak about whatever they want at the detriment of other people. And I think at this point we can agree that Trump, for a multitude of reasons, is a cause of trauma for a lot of people. So while I don't agree with everything that the Ravelry policy says, the way they went about it, I do agree that we need to ban hate speech, and white supremacy is not okay, and supporting white supremacy is also not okay. So I would like to reiterate, I know I've said this before, but this community, my community, should be a safe space for everybody involved. And if you are considering making it not a safe space, just please leave. Okay, that was poorly said. I didn't write anything out. Maybe I should have, so I could be more eloquent about it. I have been posting a lot in the past week on Instagram and Insta stories. So if you don't follow me over there and you're interested in more of it, go find me. I'm BunniPhish. And it's a really important discussion that we need to have. And I think that something should have happened sooner, but at least something's happening now. Which doesn't make it like amazing, it just makes it a little better. So yeah, that was probably all terrible. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I'm not gonna edit any of that because I don't want people thinking that I'm editing my words or thoughts. Also, I know that I mess up a lot when I'm talking about things like that because it's complicated. So I welcome discussion about it in the comments below, but I will be deleting and blocking trolls because we just don't need that here. So let's talk about some finished objects, some knitting finished objects. This is the first sock of the Carousel Socks by Louise Robert, who I believe also did the Stitch Surfer socks on Knitty, also a free Knitty pattern. So this is the first sock. I had it last time I talked to you, and I finished the second sock. And then I intended to block the second sock. I don't know where I put that second sock. So I definitely have both. Both are finished. If I can find a picture of the other sock, I will put it up. You can tell that they spiral in different directions, but I don't know where I put it. For the longest time, it was sitting next to my bed, like on the floor next to my bed, next to my nightstand, so that I would remember to block it. I feel that what happened is that I was blocking socks on the dash of my car, as I do, and I probably took that pair out to my car to be blocked, so it's probably in my car. Not the pair, the sock. It's probably in my car. I'm not positive. But I promise it's finished because I want to wear them eventually. So if you watch Vlogmas, I'll probably wear them in Vlogmas. Because this year Vlogmas, I really want to do what some podcasters do, which is show off the socks that they've worn and or that they're wearing, and talking a little bit about the yarn and the pattern and stuff like that. So, but Vlogmas is a very far time away. My next finished object is this pair of Ridgeback socks, which you haven't seen in a super long time because I set them aside. I may have worked on them in January, but I may have set them aside as early as December because or earlier than that, I don't remember. The knit along for the Zombie Knitpocalypse only counted new cast-ons since January 1st. So as soon as I realized that, when I, actually started participating, I think around the 1st of February, I was like, oh, I'm not going to work on my whips anymore, just new things to get that yardage and those bonuses. So these markers are not indicative of the last time you saw them. I had other markers on here, but I felt like it was irrelevant since I hadn't worked on them so long, so I took them off. And the markers are where they were when I picked them up to work on them at the ZK. I love these little star progress keepers. My nails are really dirty today. I'm sorry, I did scrub under them before I podcasted, but this morning we went out, side tangent, we went outside and our yard has been neglected so far this summer because we've been just nonstop running, and I was like, okay, we need to go pull weeds and stuff. And like the grass that grows along the fence that we don't have a weed whacker, that needed to be pulled because it was super long and stuff. So my nails are super dirty and I have a little injury that's making it, you probably can't, oh, you can see it. It's right here. I cut myself pulling some grass because I don't wear gloves. I don't like wearing gloves when I'm doing yard work. Even though I'm allergic to like all the grassy things, I don't like wearing gloves. I do sometimes wear them, but I don't like to. Anyway, this is making knitting a little weird today. Where was it? Why did I start telling you this story? I don't remember. Yard work was a thing. Oh, nails dirty. Got it. That's why I was talking about it. So these socks, I worked on them at the ZK because this ridgeback pattern, I love it. I think it's amazing. Not just because it's mine. I think if someone else made it, I would also think it was amazing. I really liked Stitch Surfers when I first did them. Also in Target in the round, just a really cool technique. The nice thing about ridgeback versus Stitch Surfers is that there is less purling. Still a bit of purling, but less purling. But anyway, I am able to do the ridgeback sock pattern while walking and riding in the car and talking and going to dinner and all the things that we did at the ZK, which again, I'm not telling you right now, so why am I talking about it? Because I am. So I finished these at the ZK, which was good. That was my plan. I think I finished this one pretty early on, probably definitely the first day. And then maybe I finished this one the second day. It's really quick to work on. Yeah, it had to be something like that because my next finished-ish object, not actually finished, but kind of, is another pair of ridgebacks. You guys, I'm all about ridgeback right now. And I'm actually thinking about doing a pair of fingerless mitts with the ridgeback design, but going down like the outside. That might be a thing that comes up. I was watching a podcast today, Earth Tones girl Denise, she was talking about how she's having a mitt knit along and how fingerless mitts count because I don't want to knit mittens. I don't really wear mittens, but fingerless mitts, and I'm just obsessed with ridgeback right now. I just am. So here's the back of this one, and this ridgeback has it's longer than other ridgebacks I've made. It has an extra repeat because these are for Josh, and I got through this length and I was like, okay, is this leg going to be long enough for you or do you need it longer? And he was like, well, and humming and hawing, and finally I was like, Josh, I'm not ripping it back because I had already started working toward the heel. I was like, I'm not ripping back once I put in the heel, so if you want it longer, you need to say now. I just dropped it. My daughter made me a doll of myself. Paper doll, that's what she does. She makes paper dolls. Anyway, so this one is a longer leg and it's got a giant man foot. The really fun thing about this sock is that this is a collaborative project. So at the ZK, I did this whole leg and heel in a day. And then I gave Haley the sock, and Haley she's Hale's Knits on Instagram. She did the foot and I did the toe because I don't like to do mindless knitting. I don't like it. Haley loves to do mindless knitting. She's the one who makes me the sock head hats. And so that was really, really awesome because I didn't have to do the boring stockinette part. So I have the second sock through the heel. I'm at that same point where I traded it off to Haley. So I'm actually going to send this sock to Haley. She's going to do the foot. And then she's going to send it back and I'm going to do the toe, and then I'm going to send it to Josh for Christmas-ish. I don't know, sometime, whenever I get around to it. But yeah, I finished this up a couple days ago now. I definitely started it. Did I start it at the ZK? I think I did. I think I started it on Saturday and then worked on it a little bit on the plane and then just was working on it here and there. So the sock is kind of finished for me, kind of not finished. I do have to add in a toe, but that's, you know, an hour of work. But first it has to travel to Haley. So this is the best idea that we've had in a really, really long time. And I can't just knit the foot of the second sock. Like I can't just power through it and call it good because Haley and I knit at different gauges. She knits, Haley, correct me below if I get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the way she knits, she twists the stitches as she's knitting them and then untwists them while when she knits the stitches. Does that make sense? So the stitch that she is working into, she untwists while she simultaneously twists the stitch that she's making. Pretty sure that's what she told me she did. So I don't know if you'll be able to see. So these are my stitches and these are her stitches. I think you can tell that her stitches are at a tighter gauge than my stitches. So she has to do the second foot, otherwise the socks would fit differently. It'd be weird. But she's already agreed to it, and that's super exciting. And that leads me into my next work in progress in this super cute bag that Haley made for me. Isn't it cute? And it's fully reversible, snaps, and it has green on the inside. So I didn't actually have to unsnap that. I just wanted to show you the cool features. So I'm working on, I told you, I'm obsessed with this pattern right now. I'm working on another Ridgeback sock, and this one I have just started the heel. So I will, the stitch marker doesn't indicate anything. I mean, it does. It indicates where I was yesterday. So this was all done yesterday, this leg. This pattern works up super, super fast. It's super potato chippy for me, probably for other people too. So yeah, I am working the heel. I think I'm like one row into the heel turn. It's going to be a Fish Lips Kiss heel. The pattern has a short row heel written into it, but you could do whatever type of heel you like, really. And isn't this stitch marker beautiful? So this stitch marker is from Zany Crafts. Suzanne is the sweetest. She gave this to me because I was telling her how much I love the blue one that Haley sent me last year. Oh my gosh, I love this green one. I'll tell you more about Suzanne in a little bit though. So yeah, so once I get through the heel, I will do, I will cut the blue yarn, probably weave in the end so that it's not getting in Haley's way. I think I'll weave in the ends before I send the sock, all 3 socks, because what I'm going to do is I will then take it and knit it onto this needle, because I'm going to send this needle with the socks so Haley can knit off of this needle to knit the feet of the socks. And I don't know if I'm going to be doing the toes on these or if she's going to do the toes on these. These socks are ultimately going to be for her, so I don't know how she's handling that situation. But this works out really, really well because Haley likes mindless knitting, and this Ridgeback, for me, mindless, but for other people, not so mindless. So she'll get a pair of Ridgeback socks, which I would have made her anyway. But she'll get a pair of Ridgeback socks that she doesn't have to do any work for. Not true. That she doesn't have to do like the tricky? It's not tricky. The extra work for. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say, but it's a really, really good setup. I really, really enjoy that I can send her the boring part of the sock, and she will send, and I can do the fun part. It's a lot of fun for the collaboration. So that's where there's going to be 3. The second sock for Josh, and then this sock for Haley. Look at how beautiful that is. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. So hopefully Haley will send me back a mini of this. There's the train. My last work in progress that I'm going to show you is the Tripartite by Stephen West. I was, yes, here at this green marker last time I showed it to you. Look at how much progress I've made. Are you proud? I am so proud of me for pulling this out of hibernation. So I did one full wedge section. There's a part where you do short rows. I did one of those at the movies last week. Best idea ever. I did take a little bit of work, and the little bit of work was you're supposed to do short rows every so many stitches. So before we went to the movies, I did some setup with stitch markers so that I could just remove stitch markers as I did the short rows while I was at the theater. It was brilliant. It worked perfectly. That way I could just work on this in the movies. I've done a couple short row sections on here. One I just made myself do a ridge in between everything else for one day, so I got progress on that. So I am working away on it. It's going. It will one day, this will be a sweatery vesty thing. It's not my favorite thing to work on, but I do want to finish it this year, so I have to work on it if I want it to be finished. I'm working it on fingering weight yarn instead of lace weight yarn, and I think I went down a needle size from what was recommended, which means that I cast on more stitches than the pattern cast on. So mine will be slightly different than Stephen West's, but it should be fine. It looks fine so far. I think everything's working out. So we'll see if all of those modifications totally mess it up. What else about this? Not really anything. I am not going to try to make this a focus project, other than I will just have it with me so I can throw in a row or a ridge here and there. I'm not going to try to power through it because I'm not enjoying it. It's garter stitch forever, which I just don't love. So it's a fine pattern. There's just nothing wrong with it. It's just personal preference. I don't love it, but it's the shape that my sister wanted, so that's what I'm making. And now, well, the other things that I've been working on, I've been working a lot on modular projects. So since the 15th, I think I've finished 66 things. Should have looked. I have a tally on Instagram and also in my paper journal. I think it's 66 things. So I've been doing a whole bunch of modular projects, but I have recorded or am recording about each of my modular blankets. I think that, so I have 9. I think out of the 9, I recorded about 6 of them. So I'm going to try to get the other things recorded, and I will put that up as a special episode this week. So we'll have this one, and then in about a week we'll have that one, and then in about another week hopefully another actual podcast. So yeah, I've been working on those a bunch, and that will be posted later. I already said all of that. Sorry, being redundant. So now I'm going to talk about the ZK. I forgot to split the video. I usually try to split the video every 10 minutes because I have noticed that if I don't, the audio gets a little bit off as I'm recording. So I'm really sorry if that was really, really weird, because I'm sure it happened because I was recording for about half an hour there. So the ZK, I'm going to pull out the tripartite and talk with you and knit. I would work on that sock, but I'm doing the heel and I don't want to mess up. So I'm also going to be looking down a little bit. I'll try not to look down too much. The ZK was so fun. If you're not interested, go ahead, head out. That's fine. I'm not offended. I don't always watch everybody's recaps of things. In fact, I usually just skim through like one or two people's recaps and then I'm done with it. So if this is one that you're not watching, I will see you in a couple weeks. Like, comment, subscribe, head over to Patreon if you feel like it. Next episode, I'm pretty sure I owe a Patreon prize, so I'll be drawing for that. Even if I don't owe one, now that I've said one, I'm going to draw for that. So check out back for that next week. Wow, could I be any less articulate this episode? Probably not. I'll see you guys then. So for those of you who are hanging out with me for a little bit of ZK chatter, it's time and I'm super excited and it is really, really warm. This is sweat happening. That's why I'm so shiny. Sorry, we don't have air conditioning in my house, which doesn't bother me. I have a fan, but I don't want to have the fan making all that noise right now. And usually when it's a hot day, we go to the beach or the park or the library. We're going to the beach tonight for fireworks. So we just haven't gone anywhere yet today because I can only handle so much of being out of my house. Anyway, ZK. So I got up super early on Thursday. Well, my ZK trip for me started on Wednesday, where I originally was supposed to meet the kids' dad to pick them up halfway at our halfway point, so that they could spend time with him. So that the day before, so Tuesday, he called and he was like, "Hey, so I have to work all day tomorrow. Is it okay if my sister meets you?" Because his sister was meeting him, was coming up from, I think she lives in Tennessee, to stay with him in Ohio so that they could take her two boys and my two kids to Kings Island. What is this long piece of hair going on right here? Whatever. I'm gonna let it go. So I was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine, sure." And we planned to meet around 6 p.m. Well, the day of, the sister texted and she was like, "Hey, is 7 okay?" I was like, 7's fine, because dropping my kids off at 7 would mean I'd get home around 10, and I was planning on waking up at about 4 to go to the airport. So that was enough sleep, not a great amount of sleep, but enough. And then she called me a little while, like mid-afternoon, and she was like, "So is 7:30, would 7:30 work?" And I was like, "Well, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do, but I have a flight tomorrow and I have to be up by 4, so I really don't want to push it past 8. So then their mom met me. So my kid's grandma met me to pick up the kids, and it was just a really quick, we got to the transfer point, whatever it was, for the kids a little bit early, so I got them food. They were finishing up eating right as she got there. They got in the car, they left because she had things to do. Totally get it. So then she and the sister met up somewhere to transfer the kids. So my children had connecting car rides. So then my flight, I wanted to wake up at 4 to leave my house by 5 because my flight was at 7. But I ended up waking up at 3:30. So I was ready to go by 4. I mean, I was ready to go at like 3:35. But I let my boyfriend sleep in until 4 because he drove me to the airport. And then I got on my flight and it was a, uneventful flight. I had my hair up in pigtails though, and they had to check my pigtails because they pinged the security thing, even though I don't wear, my hair bands don't have any metal or anything on them. So I don't know what pinged it. I pinged the security thing flying to and from the ZK. From the ZK, it was the back of my right ankle. I don't know what pinged it. There was nothing there, but something pinged the security. So I was a little nervous because I had never been to the Detroit airport before, and new things scare me, but it was really lovely. It's a really pretty airport. And I found my flight terminal really quickly, and then I had about 45 minutes to kill before they started boarding my plane at all, and I fly the cheapest seats, so I board last. So then I went Pokemon walking around the airport and set up some Pokemon in gyms, got a whole bunch of Pokestops. That was a good time. Then I'm pretty sure I already said my flight was uneventful. The planes that we were riding on, previously, my previous DK trips, I've been on flights where it's been only 2 seats next to each other for the cheap seats, but this time it was 3 seats and I was in the middle, so that was a little awkward because personal space, but I was fine. It just felt a little cramped. I got to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Josh picked me up. He rented a car for the day because he and his husband share a car right now. So we rented a car and we drove down to Rochester, Minnesota. We stopped at Panera to get some breakfast. Josh was the best and brought a water bottle and snacks for me for post-flight so that I didn't have to like buy food in the airport because that's really expensive. And also, I don't want to drink a ton before I fly because then I have to use the bathroom, and I've used an airplane bathroom before. I don't like it. The flight from here to there is only a 2-hour flight, so I didn't have anything to drink beforehand, so I pretty much slammed like 24 ounces of water on our 1-hour drive. We got some bagels and stuff for the rest of the trip so that we wouldn't have to go and find breakfast first thing in the morning. So that was really good. Love Panera bagels. And then we drove to the hotel, dropped off the car. They had a rental car place right in the hotel, so we didn't have to go anywhere to drop off the car, which was super nice. And we dropped our bags in Suzanne's room because we were there before the official check-in time and we didn't want to mess with that. So Suzanne was gracious, let us drop our bags in there, in her room, and then we went to registration and it was so nice. I got a hug immediately and people were super sweet, saying that it was so nice that I was back and that they missed me and that they missed my hugs because I am a hugger and my hugs are they're pretty intense. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody, but they're pretty intense. So got checked in, hung out in the ballroom. We went on Thursdays. They have Thursdays on 3rd, I think it's called, in downtown Rochester. So we had lunch there. I got a spicy salmon rice bowl from a sushi place it's like a kind of like a fast food sushi place in one of the cafeterias in the mall, the walking mall. So yeah, that was so delicious. And I am on a sushi kick right now. I just love, love sushi. And if I could have sushi all the time, I totally would. So I also they had giant cookies. I got one of those. And then I didn't eat it for 2 days. It just sat in the room waiting for me to be ready for it. And then there was a vendor who made handmade soaps and balms and stuff. So I really, really like to use chapstick on my cuticles because I'm super hard on my cuticles. We all are, right, as crafters. So I like to use chapstick on them. So I got the balm from her to use on my nails, and one of them is um, frankincense and something, and that's the one that I'm currently using. It smells delicious. And then our friend Gabby, she hurt herself on Wednesday, so she couldn't go walking around and stuff. So when dinner time happened, I stayed in the ballroom with Gabby, and everybody else went to dinner and brought us back food, and that was great. I had crap to eat. It was tachos and cheese curds, and they were delicious. The food was so, so good, but it was not a good life choice. It was so greasy. I didn't eat very much though because I wasn't very hungry. But Josh, I officially had Josh's leftovers. He just brought me back what he didn't eat, and he was like, "That was a poor life choice." I was like, "Yeah, because we're grown-ups now. We have to, eat like grown-ups, not like little kids, like we did at the first CK, because we're not little kids anymore. The first CK was 7 years ago." What else? I won the prize the first night. I won a skein of Miss Babs, which I traded away because it had cashmere in it. And then the $20 yarn swap happened the first night. So you bring a skein of yarn that costs at least $20. You put it on the table, and then you get a number, and you pick in the order that your number is drawn. And I got a really beautiful skein of yarn that I don't have up here to show you, but I have pictures of it. I don't remember what the name is right now, but I'm really happy with the skein that I got. And then the next day was Friday. What happened on Friday? I don't know. I got that sushi. We went to the actual caf for lunch that day, and I got another sushi bowl. It was a salmon trio. Oh, it was so good. It was spicy salmon, smoked salmon, and salmon roe over rice and vegetables. Amazing. If that place was around me, I would eat there several times a week for sure. The mini skein swap was that morning, and I jumped in and helped. I was the enforcer for that because the two women who were running it, they're super nice, but neither of them wanted to, like, not yell at people, but yell at people, and I don't mind enforcing. So I enforced that, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't sign up for any classes this time going to ZK. I really wanted to just be able to hang out with my friends since I hadn't been to the ZK in 3 years. So next year I plan on signing up for a class or two if they seem interesting. Maybe teaching a class. I haven't decided yet. I keep saying I'm sorry. My brain is not keeping up with my mouth, or maybe it's the other way around. So we went to sushi that night at like an actual sushi restaurant, not a cafeteria restaurant. It was delicious, and I met Stephanie Lockton there. So that was really, really exciting. She was invited by Josh. So there were 8 of us, and we were at 2 four tops that had been pushed together. So Josh was with her and I believe it was the dyers behind Three Irish Girls. Pretty sure, but I didn't talk to them because they were on the other side of Josh, and it just would have it wasn't a dynamic for talking like that. So Stephanie was across from Josh. I was next to Josh, and I really wanted to talk to her, but like, um, I am having a lot of like social issues, like talking to people recently, and I'm not sure what that is. And so even though I wanted to speak up about 7 times during their conversation, I just never could bring myself to do it. So as we were leaving the restaurant, she was walking to the door by herself, so I jumped in and I was like, "Oh, I love your catacorn sweater," and I would make it for my daughter, but she'd chews on her clothes, so she would destroy it. And so we got to talking about our kids and about design work and things like that. And she initiated a pattern swap between us, which was super, super exciting. Because I was working on the Ridgeback, and she was like, "Oh, those are really cool, but I don't really knit socks." And I was like, "Well, I have intarsia in the round hats too." So she got signature stripe, and I got the catacorn sweater for small humans. So that's really exciting. And she was just really, really lovely. And then on Saturday, as I was leaving, I'm going to jump ahead. She's really bad at names, just like I am, but she remembered my name. She's like, "You're the only name that I remember." I felt very like, oh, kind of fangirly a little bit. Although I don't really, really fangirl over anyone, so it was like as much fangirly as I felt. So that was really cool. And I taught her the trick of using the stitch markers to count things. I felt very, very clever that I could share that with someone who has, you know, a babillion Instagram followers. And yeah, it was really good. So Saturday was market day, and I worked the yarn truck with Jenna 716. It's her yarn truck, Knit Buffalo, and Josh was out there too helping. We were directing traffic, and I had previously invited Leah of the eventual, I think it's Eventual Knits podcast. I talked about it during last month's vlogs. I invited her to come because on one of her episodes, she was talking about how she went to a knitting retreat and it wasn't super inclusive, and how she kind of felt a little bit left out. So I was like, "Oh, come to the ZK. It's super inclusive. Everyone's super nice." And she did. She came to market day. So that was really exciting. It was really fun to meet Leah. She was delightful in person. Her husband was also very, very delightful in person. And that was really, really cool to meet, you know, someone from the area-ish who wasn't going to come and then came, and it was a good time. I really enjoyed meeting Leah, and yeah, it was so fun. I met some other people who I hadn't met before. Um, I'm not going to name all of the names, but I had stories for those too, so that's why they are mentioned. And the market was great. The closing ceremonies was really fun. And then Josh's husband drove down to pick us up. And then we stopped at a Mexican restaurant that was like 2 minutes from their apartment. And the food was really, really good. And then we went to their apartment because my flight left at 6:30. So I wanted to be to the airport around 4:30. I think is when I decided. I don't remember. Maybe we were supposed to wake up at 4:30. That was a week ago. I can't remember. And we crashed super early because Josh and I had stayed up until 4:30 Saturday morning talking because we hadn't seen each other in a babillion years. Even though we had to get up at 6:30 to help with the truck. Poor life choice. But I would totally make that choice again. And I'm sure I will make that choice again. So it was a lot of fun. I will put in some pictures of acquisitions and stuff, gifts from friends. But yeah, it was so nice to hang out with other knitters and talk about yarn and talk about patterns and talk about designs and all of the things that I used to talk about on a regular basis and haven't really, except on this podcast. It was a really, really good time. If you are able to get to a retreat at some point, do it. I mean, markets and stuff are really, really nice. Festivals are really nice, but a retreat is a different experience altogether because there's built-in chill time and a lot of built-in chill time. So that was really, really good. Also, I worked on, aside from those socks, I worked on modular projects because people brought minis for me to work with. So I did some squares and I did some flowers. But mostly I worked on those socks, and just taking the socks was a really good amount of knitting. I forgot to bring spinning though, and I definitely missed having the option of spinning. Yeah, I really let myself down on that one. So next year I need to make sure that a spindle and some spinning fiber gets in there. Speaking of spinning, Tour de Fleece is starting really soon before the next time I record. So if you are Tour de Fleecing, let me know. Let me know what your plans are, what your thoughts are. If you have goals, if you don't have goals, if you're a new spinner, if you are a someone who's been spinning for a long time. I don't want to say like a good spinner or anything because that's all subjective, but let me know what your spinning ideas are. I am definitely going to participate. I haven't hammered out my thoughts completely. Definitely spinning for 30 minutes a day. I want to do 15 minutes on the Zany Crafts fiber that I used in the chaotic neutral cowl that I did. I have about half the fiber left to spin, so I definitely want to do 15 minutes at least of that a day. Did I tell you guys? I don't think I did. Tragedy happened. So I kept that project in my car, and one day the kids and I went to the park, and my sister went to the park also. It was back when school was still in session because she picked up all 4 of the kids, and I went to Meijer to get food. Yes. So I sent the kids back when they got to the park. I was like, can you go get my stuff out of Aunt Mandy's car? It's in the front. And they brought me back my spinning from the front of my car. And I was like, you guys didn't listen to the vehicle at all. So then someone stepped on my spindle, my Golding spindle, and snapped it about 1.5 inches up the shaft. I think it's still usable. I've been in mourning though, so I haven't been able to bring myself to do anything with it. But I think if I sand the bottom, it should be fine. The shaft is still probably like 4 or 5 inches long, so it's long enough. It's fine. That just really sucked. But that happens sometimes, especially with small humans around, and I should have immediately had them put it back in my car, but I didn't. And it got knocked on the ground and someone stepped on it. At least it was down by the bottom of the shaft, right? They could have snapped it right by the top of the shaft and then it would have been useless. So at least there's that. So I just haven't been working on spinning though because I was really, really bummed out by that. But I'm going to get back into it. I want to spend 15 minutes a day on that. And then 15 minutes a day on something else. I still have the silk going from last Tour de Fleece, the silk hankies, so I could spin on that. Josh just gave me some beautiful bats while I was at the ZK. I might spin those. I have that red fiber still to spin, the red silk alpaca from the chaotic neutral, so I could spin that. I may spin on all of those things. I don't know, but definitely want to do Zany Crafts first. That's my first goal, is to finish that. I don't know if I'll finish it during Tour de Fleece. If I really only spend 15 minutes a day on that, I won't. But I usually end up spending a lot more than just 15 minutes a day when I'm spinning. So those are my plans-ish. They're not in stone. I still have a little bit of time to figure them out. So I will flesh them out and tell you next time. All right, I think that's all that I have for you. I will see you in another couple weeks, hopefully. If I forgot to talk about something, bring it up in the comments below. Be like, hey, you forgot this. And I'll be like, oh yeah, that's true. This is what happens when you don't write show notes. And I think I'm probably not going to write show notes for the next several episodes, because if I have to stop and write show notes, I probably won't do it at all. Yeah, that's all I have for you. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you in a couple weeks. Bye.